Happy Saturday, everybody. Can you hear me okay? I just want to make sure everybody can hear us. Oh, good. Okay. Welcome to our Cooking with the Dean. This is a exciting first time adventure, and I'm cooking with Dean Comerford, Nick. So we welcome him to the lab, and we are excited to cook 3 amazing dishes. And these come from Nick's childhood. So we're going to hear a little bit about that. But we're going to get started. So if anybody is cooking with us, we're going to start with the angel food cake first, and then we will jump into the beans, and then we'll cook the sloppy joes last because those don't take as much time. So I don't know if anybody's cooking with us, but we will walk you through the angel food cake and start from there. So you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. Did you want to say anything briefly before we start?
Yeah, don't judge me. We'll see how this all works out.
All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a angel food cake, and angel food cake is all about eggs. So what we're going to start with is we're going to actually get a cup of sugar ready, and then we're going to mix the flour and sugar together. So do you want to get a cup of, let's get a cup of sugar going.
A cup of.
Cup of.
All right.
Okay.
How accurate are you?
I'm a stickler, but we can get as close to that.
Yeah.
I'll work with you.
I always use a knife and just sort of.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
That's lab. This is all lab technique, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Good enough.
That looks great. Okay, so we're going to mix that with our flour. We're going to sift it together. So we're going to use this sifter. So what we can do is all of the flour.
All the flour and this together.
And the sugar together. So we'll pour in and then we're going to sift it through. And that just helps us to mix it up.
Okay, and sifting is just.
Yep, kind of tap it through.
You allowed to use your hands in this stuff when you put
Sure,
your hands in there? And you got.
That's why we wash our hands always, right? So we're ready to
go. Okay, you didn't explain that to me. All right.
So this looks great. And then what we're going to do is the next step is going to be our egg whites. So you're doing great.
My wife was doing this for lunch today with cassava, tapioca.
Oh, yes.
With tapioca.
Absolutely.
And I suggested, those coffee grinders for beans.
Yes.
Wouldn't you put this stuff in there and you get rid of all those things real quick? Wouldn't that
would
take
work.
care of the sifting?
Sure. And you could, if you want to do a spoon, and then it'll kind of smash those big chunks down through it.
All right.
Make it, there you go.
It's okay to be messy, right?
Absolutely.
Oh, that makes go faster. That's a lot faster.
There you go. That's right. Okay.
All
so
right.
We're going to let that sit aside, and we're going to start with, so we put that across the way, and then we're going to do our egg whites. So
okay.
Here's the fun part. So what we're going to try and do is we're going to have to get through 14 eggs.
14.
And we're going to try and crack them so that they don't break
I'll take my shoes off for this one.
So that we don't break the yolks, and then we're going to drop them through. This is an egg separator for anybody that hasn't ever used one. And that will allow us to just pour the egg in there. The yolk should stay right in that little cup that we can take it out.
Okay.
And we're working with.
So whites are the big and the yolks are the small, or vice versa?
Either way. So I'll let you give it a shot.
All right.
Look at that. Look at that. Pro.
What about garbage for?
Let's drop them in the sink, and I will start handing them to you as.
Okay, so everybody at home, count along.
That's beautiful. Look at that. All right, and then we'll put this one into here.
Okay. Can we get Samantha to count? To keep the count?
No. Uh-oh, did I miss one already? Is that one?
Absolutely. Sure.
Look at shells are an extra benefit, right?
Yes.
Is there protein in the shells?
A little. Oh, they're crunchy too, so we stick away from the crunch. Oh, and I think we might have actually gotten a shell in there, so we can fish it out. We'll get a teaspoon and fish it out.
All right. It might not be the only one.
That's okay. That's okay. We'll get it out.
We're okay?
Sorry, I feel like we're working on top of one another. Maybe we can scoot over and then I'll stay out of your cracking way. All right. I will try and fish out that. You
In
know,
my experience, they don't like to come out.
they get a little fussy. You know, this is going to be cooked, so we're safe. I wash my hands.
You should have told me about that one.
Fishing game. Okay.
All right.
I think we're good. So yolks, that was 3. We can dump that into your whites.
Oh, gotcha.
Another egg. So while we're doing this, can you tell us how these recipes came about?
Oh, well, I'm from a family of 6 kids,
Okay.
second oldest, have an older sister. And my mom had a thing where we all had our special meals for our birthdays
Oh, okay.
that we got to pick. And so this was,
Might use the spoon to try and scrape off that bottom.
I don't know that that separator
finger.
is a good, is separating well. Good. Fingers are okay? There we go.
When in
Right.
doubt. Good.
Yeah, so we all had our different meals, and this was always my favorite as a kid.
Okay.
Of course, wind up getting married, and I'm only allowed to have this now on my birthday.
Oh, very nice. Very nice.
Yeah, Sam says they pick their birthday meals too, so it's a really great tradition.
Yeah, yeah.
Absolutely. All right, there's 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, we're getting there.
You can only separate one at a time.
Yeah.
And oop, there might be some shell coming
So
out of this
how,
one
so
too.
this was your favorite. So angel food cake was like the birthday cake
Yes.
as an option. And then the dinner itself was the
What-
beans and the
beans
sloppy joe.
and the sloppy joes.
Ah,
And the angel food cake is a cake, strawberries and chocolate syrup.
oh, yum.
Jesse Kai wants to know, where are you from?
Oh, I grew up in Chicago, Illinois, on the north side. Chicago Cubs,
Yay, cubbies.
Ernie Banks, Ron Santo, the pizza man,
Okay.
Billy Williams, left field, Ron Kissinger, shortstop.
Oh, there's a shell. Let's pick that out of there before. So did you ever help your mom bake your dinner?
No, never. It was my birthday.
True. Did your siblings have to get stuck helping her? We gotta, okay, so we're gonna scrap
Uh-oh.
this one
Oh,
because we got a yolk in there. So we'll start, that's all right. So
Okay.
we need to grab.
We have
a
enough eggs.
clean- Yeah, we're gonna grab a clean custard cup and then we're gonna rinse this out. And the reason is that any fat going into that mixture of egg white won't let us get that nice foam that we're
Oh.
shooting for. So that's about how to start. No problem.
so we go
All right.
again.
Let's start again.
Is your mom a Chicago native also?
Yes. Mom and dad were both from Chicago originally. Although my grandma on my mom's side was born in Scotland. She had an older sister. My mom had an older sister who was born on Vancouver Island in British Columbia. Because my grandma's husband went into World War I, but he was from Kansas. So it was an interesting story, as my grandma thought that she was an American citizen because she married my grandpa, until she was like 70 years old, found out she was not an American
Oh,
citizen
wow.
and had been voting. And my aunt, being born in Canada, also was not an American citizen. So when they got at that stage of life, they took all the exams and they got
Wow.
They became citizens.
they became
That's
citizens
amazing.
late in life.
So you were mentioning your wife was cooking earlier and she's Brazilian. So does
Yes.
she help or have you learned to cook some of her Brazilian style foods?
The thing we do the two things that we do that are mainly Brazilian, we had for lunch today, and that's, tapioca,
Yes.
cassava flour.
Yeah.
So you make you fry up tapioca in a patty, then you put in tapioca, you put in tucumã. Tucumã is the fruit of a palm tree.
Okay.
And then you put in queijo, which is cheese,
Okay.
and you fry all that up together. And then you butter it with manteiga,
That sounds yummy.
butter,
Yes.
and it's a wonderful breakfast. It's my favorite breakfast.
Sounds great.
She's from Manaus in the Amazon. So everything was local.
12, 13, 14. Okay, I'm just getting a count so we don't overshoot it as we're chatting. Great.
Okay. Where are you from?
I am from California. I have Irish heritage,
Okay,
English, Irish, but I was born and raised in California before I moved here in 2005.
all right. Well, my grandma's from Scotland. My other grandpa is a descendant from Ireland. So in Kilkenny County, there is a turret castle. You know what those are?
Yes.
Yeah. So that is the Comerford Castle.
Oh,
So Annie and I went there a couple of years back on vacation. We stopped at the castle, which is now a bed and breakfast.
nice.
And the guy that owns it now was took us on a tour all the way to the top. And at the top, there's this big thick book called Comerford Genealogy. So we could sit down and
Nice.
see where everything came from.
All right. We did it.
That's it.
That's it. Okay, so we're gonna take the egg whites and we're gonna put them into our
But they're yellow.
egg yellows, and we're gonna put them in here, and then we're gonna start mixing that.
All right.
Perfect. So the way this mixer works is you set that in the sink. What we'll do is just raise this bowl up so it goes up on the
It goes
side.
up on this
Uh-huh.
here.
There you
Oh,
go.
there we go. Okay.
And then so it should click into,
Up. Got it.
okay. And then we're gonna start out,
Low.
we're gonna add hang on one sec, we're gonna add the, so our next step is to put the egg whites, cream of tartar. So everybody has a small container of cream of tartar and salt in here. And cream of tartar the purpose is to help keep that egg structure. So once we start that foaming process, it will hold on to the foam.
All right.
So we're gonna put this in. And
That's the tartar and salt
cream
together.
of tartar and salt. Yep.
Okay.
And then we'll probably start out at like 2, get it going, and then we'll go up to about 6. We don't want to
All right.
once it kind of starts has it all mixed in on the
Yeah, yeah.
side?
Looks like it's congealing a bit too.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Perfect. All right, so while that's whipping up, we're gonna split some vanilla beans.
Oh,
I don't know if have you ever worked with whole vanilla beans before?
no, that's a lot of money right there.
Yes, it is. So what we're gonna do is there's a little bit of you gotta push a bit, and then we're gonna open the skin up and then pull the vanilla bean out, the center out. So when I did it earlier, I cut the end off so that it allowed for that knife to go all the way through.
Oh, do we here cut this now?
Just cut, yeah, you can cut the end off. And then we're gonna do a slice along the whole way of it.
Okay.
Looks great. And then we can split it apart. You can see the
No,
next one too.
Because people are doing this at home, I'm trying to go really slow
Sounds
so
perfect.
they can keep up, right?
Absolutely.
That's right. Okay.
I usually always check with them and see how everybody's doing with their process. Do we have anybody cooking at home with us, Jesse?
All right.
Good deal. So what we'll do with your knife is just to kind of hold one end and then scrape through
Oh, okay.
the bean, and that pulls that wonderful.
So, there's some recent research showing that they've found microorganisms that with a certain type of plastic will produce the vanilla from just plastics. So that might be a tough on the vanilla industry in the
Yes,
future
it could be.
from an ag perspective.
Because the interesting thing is that that's an orchid that grows the vanilla bean. That would put a stifle in the production.
It's really hard to grow vanilla. It's almost all has to be hand pollinated.
Right.
There's stuff in here too, I
Yep.
guess, huh? On the other side,
Yes.
saffron's the most expensive?
Yes.
Okay,
Wonderful job. So set those aside. We're gonna just keep that because eventually
right.
we're gonna add it into our mix. Now we'll drive this up a little bit more. And we're looking for what we call a soft peak. So it's gonna be soft, not too firm. And the whole thing with egg whites is not to overbeat them. It's to keep, it's kind of like the Goldilocks principle, just right.
just beat it right.
Just beat it right.
Okay, not sure that that's the
Exactly.
message that we want to send, but
Right, just to get it just right. So I'll move this out of our way so that it's
Right.
not in the cooking zone. Wow, wonderful.
all right.
Wonderful.
You notice my apron?
Tell us about it.
I'm a Rainbow Warrior cook.
Oh, I like that. That's perfect. And the purple at the top.
That's right.
Great. Go Bows. Let's see where we are. Are we talking tonight? Yeah, so we're still not at that soft peak. So we're gonna go up to 8.
Yeah, I have no idea what that soft peak looks
All
like.
right. I'm gonna push it a little bit faster. And then we're getting close. I've still gotta keep going.
I just asked, why is it called angel food cake?
Because my mom served it to me.
That's the best answer.
That's right.
All right, so we're getting. Get a little bit more.
And I need to apologize. I think my wife is watching on this too. I need to apologize because whenever I go somewhere, she says, don't make jokes. Just don't make jokes.
Love it. I always ask my students, if angel food cake is made with egg whites, is there cholesterol?
Would be yes.
So we have to figure out where we get cholesterol from. And it really, there we go. Look at
Oh,
that.
okay.
And so the question would be, does it come from the egg white or the egg yolk? And it comes from the yolk. And so really this is a cholesterol-free.
It's really healthy.
Yeah, it is. Just the sugar
wait for the
content is
sugar.
high.
Just wait for the sugar to go in.
So I'm gonna have you, yes, I'm gonna have you add the rest of that sugar a little bit at a time. Oops. Just kind of pour it in there gently.
That says they appreciate the jokes.
That's because they want to embarrass the dean. That's why.
So the name comes from the texture, so light that angels could eat it and still fly without being weighted down. That's where the angel food cake came from. Name. That's a very interesting concept.
Okay, we're just about done.
Yeah, that looks great. So then we're gonna add a teaspoon of vanilla.
But we have vanilla.
We do, we're gonna add more, and then we're
Oh,
gonna add
okay.
our vanilla bean as well.
Teaspoon. That's how, yeah, with a, well, that's not a table, that's a tea, okay.
Yeah. Fantastic. All right, then I'll have you kind of scrape off our vanilla bean into there.
Where do you get the vanilla bean?
the vanilla beans came off of Amazon. Yes.
You don't get them at Safeway, do you?
You can actually find
Can
them
you?
in different locations. They're very expensive. Yeah.
Also have-
They're real pricey. So if you don't have vanilla beans at home, you can always just use vanilla.
Well, we
You
are,
don't
we are,
have to-
yeah, we do grow vanilla in Hawaii.
Yes. I believe there's a North Shore vanilla manufacturer, vanilla what would you call it? Producer. And I've heard them talk about hand pollinating every one of their
We've got,
orchids.
we know there's somebody on Kauai that's producing them.
Great.
Somebody on the Big Island
Oh,
on the
some
east
of our
side.
CTAHR group.
Well, just people that we know through CTAR
Fabulous.
that are doing it.
All right, so we want to get these till medium,
But do not overmix.
right? Medium moist peak. So we're going to go a little bit faster.
You still see the vanilla hanging in there.
I do. Yeah, it's kind of sticking to the center.
How will it turn out if you overbeat it?
So egg foams, if you overbeat them, they actually start to break apart and they won't cling together. So they'll actually get dry and then the liquids start to break out. So you don't actually
Oh,
get that
so you get like
cohesiveness.
liquids settling to the
Yeah,
top and everything
correct.
else to the bottom.
Correct. Or
Right.
the foam kind of, they basically break apart. So the foams don't.
Okay, so
hold.
we're not going to ruin my angel food cake.
No,
right?
we are not quite
Okay.
there. So we want to get that medium, kind of a peak. So when we put something in, it would hold its shape a bit.
Yeah, I don't know what you mean by peak. When you say peak,
So when you pull out, kind of like if you consider like a chocolate chip, you know how they have that little peak at the
Yeah, yeah.
top of it? I would say that's a pretty good visual for you on a peak of a egg white. You just want that nice soft peak.
so you put something like this in there and if it
And
peaks
you
up,
can, uh-huh.
you know, that's how we do soil texture too.
Oh,
How much clay is in there is the kind of ribbon you can make and whether you can turn the ribbon over at the top. The more you can turn the ribbon, the more clay you have in the soil. I just thought we'd throw some stuff
I
in
love
that
it.
had to do.
I love it.
more
No,
than
it's,
cooking, yeah.
that's part of cooking, right? You gotta know where we can tie things together. So see how there's a little bit of a
Oh, yeah.
peak coming?
Yeah.
Still a little bit too soft. We want to get to a medium moist peak. So do we want more or less clay in the soil?
You want the right amount.
That's the Goldilocks principle. Okay, you're in here. Everything is
That's
the
right.
Goldilocks
No,
principle.
You're looking for a good, well-distributed texture of particle sizes and organic matter. So
Alright.
that, so you can build structure. And then the structure builds pore size distribution. And it's the pore size distribution that gives you good water holding capacity, good aeration.
Okay. Is Hawaii known for more clay or more?
Depends where you are, because each island has been around for a different number of millions of years. So the level of weathering of parent material is very different. And so the soils on Kauai are far older than the soils on, well, Kilauea. They're
Got
pretty
it.
new.
Right? Fresh
But yeah.
off the farm. All right, I think we are at that spot. So look at that.
That's it. I see it. Yeah.
See how that peak. Kind of also can take.
Sort of
on
like
a
at
fork.
the end of an ice cream cone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have that soft meat, not firm, not like over. Actually, I think I'm gonna even go a little bit, you know, the challenge is getting it just right. So we want to get that just right principle. And then we're gonna put it into, we're gonna take this off and we're gonna fold our flour into it.
So do we have a way of knowing if people who are doing this now are what stage they're at?
We can ask. We can want to know how people are doing with their foaming. I don't know if anybody's making the cake.
Oh, okay, well, they can't have any of ours.
Okay, that, see how we got a nice peak in there?
Oh, yeah,
It
yeah.
looks kind of like Peeps, if you think about the Easter candy Peeps.
Yeah, it's another thing I'm not allowed to have.
Okay. Let's bring this down and then we are going to unhook this.
Okay, so you notice that she unplugged it first.
Try to do that safety first, right? Okay, now, so what we're gonna do, let me get these out of your way. We'll
Okay.
take this, and then you're gonna use your flour, and we're gonna add a little bit at a time, and then we're gonna try and fold it
Okay,
as we go. Okay, and we'll just fold all that flour into the mixture of egg whites. And while you're working on that, what is your favorite local ingredient that you can find here? Or do you have a favorite local dish or one of each?
ingredient, no, I don't really have a famous, a dish that's specific to the Pacific. My favorite dish going out is shrimp.
Okay.
And I know we do a lot of shrimp in Hawaii,
Uh-huh.
and then garlic shrimp.
Great. My favorite dish. I'm such a foodie. I love everything, but I could go after any kind. I'm a sweets. I'd say chocolate's probably my number one. But as a kid, I grew up making white cake. So you talk about angel food cake. My brother used to give me a hard time. I made white cakes all the time because I was just trying to make them better every time. So, you know, it's all those kid memories are so fun to have. So it's great to
Yeah.
make something exciting.
Some of my sisters, they preferred a sheet cake, a chocolate
Oh,
sheet
yeah.
cake. And that's all about the frosting, I think.
Absolutely. So the nice thing about an angel food cake, it really doesn't require frosting. It can,
Mhm.
but it doesn't require it. So what did your mom put on top? You said strawberries.
Strawberries, well,
and
once you cut it up, cover
Okay.
it with strawberries and chocolate syrup
Yum.
would be what we would do. And then the best way to eat angel food cake is when it's 2 or 3 days old,
It's a little spongy,
a little spongy. Yeah.
right? Easy to hang on to. How did you get to where you are today? How did you get to here? You want to tell us that?
My career path,
Yes.
sort of circuitous. I started at the University of Illinois in aeronautical engineering. And then a very useful course in aeronautical engineering when you're a freshman, a 1-hour course of what you do as an aeronautical engineer. Didn't look fun. The reason I went into aeronautical engineering is that I was flying planes when I was in
Perfect. I'll
before I
take that.
could drive. So my mom would drive me out to the airport for my flight lessons. And so I figured, well, that's what I want to do. Well, that flying a plane and being an aeronautical engineer, not quite the same thing.
Right.
So wound up getting a degree in forestry.
Okay.
Went on to University of Minnesota for another forestry degree with a emphasis on soil science. After the University of Minnesota, I got a job with the state of Washington as it was called a forest soil specialist. So our job was, we were part of the National Cooperative Soil Survey. And we would map soils and then we would take site index on whatever trees were growing on them. So with me, they got a twofer. They got a soil scientist and a forester
Very good.
to do the job. We worked, so if you look at the soil surveys for the foothills of Mount Rainier, you'll see my name on them. And the soil survey up and down the Skagit River in northern Washington, you'll see my name on those as well. The problem with being a soil surveyor is you don't do it more than once. And so you basically map yourself out of a job.
Ah,
So I wound up then going to the State University of New York at Syracuse in silviculture and forest influences with a focus on soil science.
So someone wanted to know why forestry?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I'm not sure. I'm not sure I even knew at the time, but it wound up being a really good decision for me. I obviously like the outdoors. I'm not an ocean person. I'm a tree person.
super. All right. So
And-
we're going to, as you're talking, we can pour that into here.
Okay. Is there a handle?
Yep.
So I got my degree at the State University of New York, SUNY, Syracuse. And the beauty of that is we're on the same campus as Syracuse University. And at least half our courses were taken at Syracuse University. And the interesting thing about that is when I graduated, I got my PhD diploma from the State University of New York. About a month later, I got a diploma from Syracuse University also. So don't surprise me. But I now have 2 PhDs for the price of one.
Great.
I'm not sure that means anything. So then when I graduated from Syracuse, I wound up getting a job as an assistant professor in the soil science department at the University of Florida in Gainesville.
A gator.
I'm a Gator through and through. Both my kids were born in Gainesville.
Ah.
When you cut them, they bleed orange and blue.
So I would imagine you've been to, what is it, the swamp, right?
Oh yeah,
To see some games.
the
Or
swamp.
the biggest cocktail party in the nation with Georgia, right?
Yep. Well, that is in Jacksonville.
Okay.
The Florida-Georgia game is on what they call neutral territory, which is
Okay.
Jacksonville, Florida, which is on the Georgia border.
Got it. Those are some big rivals.
Yeah. So I spent 28 years on the campus. And then I wound up going to be an administrator at the North Florida Research and Education Center, just out, about 20 miles outside of Tallahassee, Florida, in the Big Bend area going into the Panhandle area. Was
Okay.
there 9 or 10 years and wound up
Perfect.
coming here. But during my time at the University of Florida, I had an opportunity. I worked a year for the Forest Research Institute of New Zealand in Rotorua, New Zealand. I worked 3 different times at 3 different universities in Brazil.
Okay.
Yep, as a visiting professor on sabbaticals. And then we spent a good bit of time in the Amazon of Brazil because that's where my wife's family is.
Got it.
And we did work with the International IMPA, International Institute of Amazonian Research.
I bet that was
Done
very
up?
exciting. That looks great. So we're gonna put this
Okay.
in the oven.
Who gets to lick? We'll give it to Jesse.
So we're gonna put this in the oven
Okay,
right back here. And that's gonna bake at 350 for about 50 minutes.
all right.
Okay. So we'll time 50 minutes. Start it. Okay. That's good to go. Let's
So
get
far,
our-
no mistakes, right?
We are doing fabulous. So let's get our beans started. And so what we're gonna do is create some, we've got to chop up some pepper and onion.
Gonna need this?
and- Yes. So let me wipe off our, and I'll give you a spot here. We can
Yeah.
cut your. Okay.
And I should probably wash this because it's got egg on it, right?
Yes, it will be cooked, but you know what? We'll get you a clean knife and we'll start from scratch with
What
that.
eggs, what's the danger of food poisoning with eggs?
What the risk is or what's the
What
illnesses?
the illnesses and the risk, what how often?
It's one in like, I think it's 20,000 eggs that you could have salmonella.
Yeah,
So what we're gonna do with this is we're gonna chop this up, but we want to get the skins
So-
off. So however you're comfortable with taking the skins off.
oh, I'm very comfortable with you telling me how to take the skins off.
Okay, so we're gonna peel the skins back. Great.
Is this right?
So we just want to get down to some good,
So we do good onions, we grow good onions in Hawaii.
yes, we do. The Maui sweet onions are hot commodity.
And we grow a lot of our seed up at our research station in Volcano on the Big Island.
Oh, super.
Do I cut this bottom?
So I'm going to show you a trick.
All right,
So if we cut because we're going to chop the whole thing,
yeah,
we cut it in half. I'll cut a little bit more off that top. Just get that out. And what we're gonna do is I'll have you cut a little bit through it. So this is how to make those blooming onions.
Oh,
I always call it the blooming onion cut. So I just try and go all the way around the edge.
yeah.
And then if you cut here, you
Okay.
cut the whole thing through.
Important tip. During the next pandemic, don't get a bloomin' onion from Outback
Why is that?
because they have to deliver it. And by that time it's
Oh,
soggy.
it's not good.
It's the soggiest can be.
I bet.
I
bet.
love them, but not a good idea during a pandemic.
So while you're cutting the onion, I'm gonna cut the pepper up
All right.
because we're gonna need a green pepper.
We have a first aid kit, right?
I sure do.
All right. Just
And
wondering.
guess what? If you're in the kitchen and get cut, you get a fancy colored Band-Aid that's blue.
That's blue.
Yes. Why would we have blue Band-Aids? I always ask, why is blue? And that actually hasn't been around all that long. When I first started in food services, we didn't have blue Band-Aids, but they've been introduced now because you can see them. If you were to make macaroni salad, you won't see a brown Band-Aid in there, but you would
Okay.
see a blue
You
Band-Aid.
chop these up then more or,
Nope, you shouldn't even have to cut them much more. And you're gonna do
Okay.
the same with that other side of the onion.
all right?
Jessica wants to know, if the onion is sweet because of the soil, or like, can we make a yellow onion sweet if we change the soil composition?
It's an interesting question because with wine, that's a whole science or a whole idea of how growing wine is, depends on the soil. And I forget how to pronounce the name. But generally speaking, I would think, no, I think it's more related to how you manage in the genetics that starts it. But there'll be people that will disagree because
Would temperature would also play a role possibly? If, maybe?
oh, I did this wrong.
That's all right.
Yeah, I mean, just like I say, the management, where you grow it in terms of temperature, how you water it. What we don't do well, which I always thought we should be doing much better of, particularly on our breeding programs, is we breed for maximum production, how many pounds per acre we're going to get. And often when we do that, we're actually breeding for how much water you're going to have in your, like a tomato, where we should be spending a little more emphasis on breeding for the nutritional quality, right? For taste and nutritional quality.
Great question. All right, so we're gonna get through the pepper and the onion, and then we're gonna have some garlic.
Okay.
I did hear from one of our extension agents that we're growing a special, or we're doing a special garlic process on the Pomoho side or Waimanalo side? Jensen.
Yeah, Jensen does everything everywhere. So that's hard. It's really hard to keep up with what Jensen does. He's pretty amazing.
That's great. Hawaiian garlic.
She also wants to know, is how did Maui get its sweet onion except from the age?
That's a good question. I'm not sure I know, but we have a seed lab. CTAHR has a seed lab and we do provide seed that is more adapted to the Hawaii condition. Pandemic has been really tough on virtually every aspect of CTAHR. And you need people to do stuff like that, but I don't know, we can find out, but that part I really don't know for sure.
All right, so we've got our onion. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna start, we actually need to cut up some bacon. So we're gonna cut up a couple of pieces of bacon, just
Okay,
diced, and then we're gonna put it into our red
So-
pot over there.
so I was telling Jesse earlier that I was on Twitter
Uh-huh,
and I was taught that bacon's extremely healthy for you.
really?
Yeah, there's a logic to this. So bacon has fat.
Right,
Fat is in soap.
right?
Soap kills germs.
I like it.
So the solution is eat more
Bacon,
bacon.
and bacon goes with anything. I like that thought.
Yeah, yeah.
I like it a lot. Okay, so we're gonna have you cut up 2 slices.
Everyone loves that one.
That's such, well, so my logic of sweets is eat them for breakfast because you're gonna burn them off the whole day. So I mean,
How big?
what I did earlier was I cut it half this way and then I just made chops.
Oh, okay.
So some strips.
You have to make logic of everything that we enjoy, right?
Yeah, I thought that was excellent.
I like that.
Yep.
That's like, what do you get for candies for kids for Halloween? Well, you get them something with protein and something with chocolate. So peanut M&Ms.
Oh, I thought you got something that you liked. So, so-
Well, or put anything with a nut inside, then you have that protein chocolate combination. So I can logic with you.
so Reese's peanut butter cup.
Absolutely. It's peanut
Yeah.
butter.
But interesting,
That's
yeah.
right.
Int-
All moderation. I'm going to turn on our pot.
interesting food fun fact
That's
is
right.
when I was the center director in Florida, we managed a peanut breeding program.
Okay.
And we had the patent on high oleic peanuts. And high oleic peanuts are the peanuts that they were becoming the standard for the industry. So probably anything you eat right now is a high oleic peanut. And that they had it because it would give you 2 or 3 more weeks of shelf life.
Right.
But there was also some work going on in terms of being useful in terms of controlling cholesterol.
Oh, I like that. Because everybody likes nuts and peanuts, so that's a great way to do it. All right,
Okay.
so we're gonna put that into our pot. And we're gonna start that up, and we're gonna get that to the point where it gets crispy. So I'm gonna give you a wooden spoon. There you
Wooden
go.
spoon and stir it around.
And you'll stir it around. It should start kicking in.
Okay.
We're on an electric stove, so it does take a little bit longer than gas. to
What do
heat
you
up.
prefer?
I love gas.
My wife
Oh,
loves gas too.
if we could do that, it would be ideal. Just because it's instant hot and instant off.
And instant, more controllable.
Yes.
Temperature's more controllable.
It seems like you have a quicker reaction time.
Yeah.
So,
No, she loves gas. And so we built a house in Quincy, Florida when I was the center director. And so we made sure we had gas put in there.
yeah. I grew up with electric, but after moving into a different house, I had a gas, and that was like, wow, my world opened up
Yeah.
much more. So once we're going to get this kind of crispy and the fats are going to kind of render out, and then we're going to add the
We're gonna put that in soap.
pepper. That's right.
Okay.
Saponification process, and then we'll add the onions and the pepper and the garlic, and we'll
Okay.
saute that a bit, get it nice and soft, and then we're going to add our other
Okay.
good things.
Starting to sizzle.
Yes.
There's a question about, so for the peanut, is that a GMO peanut or is the peanut a result of selective breeding?
Selective breeding. Yeah. I don't think there is a GMO peanut. I'm not, I can't say for sure, but I'm not aware that there's very few GMO crops. There's like 12, or less than that.
Yep.
Yeah. So, but, and so they would breed for a high oleic content, and then they had a little IR machine. And so they would go ahead and they would put the whole peanut under the infrared and have it set. So it would tell you what the high oleic and low oleic things were. And they could then use that in their breeding program.
Science is so cool.
Yes, it is. Good deal. We got a little bit longer to go on that.
All right. You're looking for brown?
A
A little browning?
crispy. That's kind of coming out of it a bit.
All right. So how do you like your bacon when you go to the restaurant?
Crispy.
I go fatty,
Oh,
soft.
soft.
I go soft.
Oh, okay. I like it as crispy as I can get it. So what has been the most, I got another CTAHR question.
Oh, no.
What's been the most challenging part of being the dean of CTAHR, especially during the pandemic so far?
Well, if you want to go just during the pandemic, not having people around, not having the students around. The reason, so I was on a campus for 28 years and I was on a research center for almost 10. And the difference was you're much younger on a campus than you are at a research center.
Right.
the students have a real effect on keeping you younger.
Sure.
And when you have a large group of graduate students helping with your research, they're also making you really have to keep on top of things, because your goal is to make sure that when they graduate, they know more than you do.
Right. That looks great. So we're gonna
All
add
right.
we're gonna add all of this.
All
on
right.
there, Okay. Okay, so we're gonna go about 5 minutes or so. You can put that over on the side because we're gonna cut some more in a bit for the sloppy joes.
Okay.
But that is gonna cook for about 5 minutes, so I'll keep an eye on the time. And then we're gonna add our mixture. So while Nick's sauteing our mixture, if you have the powdered or apple cider vinegar powder, what you can do is put it into a cup. And I'm just gonna add it to here. And then I'm gonna use this container. I'm gonna go 1 full water and about a half. And that'll give us just the amount of water to make it into liquid.
Starting to smell good.
Yeah, so we're gonna stir that up. Stir it up. So then we just rehydrated the apple cider vinegar powder. And that will go into your recipe. Now, if you do that mix of volume, earlier I just added the entire amount. I like tangy. Do you like tangy? Okay, so we're gonna add the whole thing. And then you should have a paprika and a chipotle
Okay.
on the side. You're doing great. We're gonna have chipotle on the side, so they're both separate. So if you don't want it quite as spicy, you can reduce the amount of chipotle that goes in. Paprika is good, and then you have a brown sugar. We're gonna add that. Each of these little barbecue sauce are a little bit over a tablespoon. So the recipe calls for 2 tablespoons. Again, are you good with the whole thing? Because it'll just give it that little bit more of a flavor. So we're gonna add the whole container. And then it also calls for Dijon mustard, and 2 of these make a tablespoon. So we're gonna add 2 packets of Dijon. So you should have an extra 2 on the side. And if you wanted to add it, you
So
can.
what's your favorite barbecue sauce?
You know, since I've tried Sweet Baby Ray's, I really like it. It's
Yeah.
got a good bold flavor. And so either that or, boy, I'm trying to think of some of the other brands that are out there. Anything with a smokiness or even the
Yeah.
Hawaiian style, I like.
So when,
A little
again,
sweet.
when I was a center director, we had an animal science program, 600 head of cattle on 2,500 acres. And in order to get the message across to people about grass-fed beef and what the University of Florida was doing, since we were out, not on campus, we put together a barbecue team.
Oh,
And so we would do barbecue competitions, anything that came into our area. And
nice.
so we had like 4 of us. You got to spend the night, you got to drink. There's things that are required. We were awful. I mean, we were terrible, but we would put up our University of Florida booth, and it would be an extension program basically.
Oh, nice.
And usually I was telling Jesse, we usually get about 20 people competing. And I think the highest we ever got was number 17.
Not bad. What were you making?
Oh, it's ribs.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Well, you had to make some, it was ribs, some it was ribs, and you also had to do chicken.
Okay.
And then it was about how it tasted, but how it looked too.
Right.
You had to put the little feet on the chicken legs and
Oh.
stuff, and you had to be creative, which is where we could have used some. We used the university's barbecue sauce. It was called Firecracker.
Sounds spicy.
We used it only once because I think we used it to an excess.
Okay.
And I think the reason we finished last that year is I don't think it was edible,
Oh, no, too hot.
but we had a really good extension program.
That's important. Okay,
That looks good here, huh?
yes, so we're gonna add your chipotle and your paprika,
Nice.
and you'll stir that in.
And that is,
It's right here in front of us on the, I put it on the
oh,
stove top
oh,
for you.
okay.
So we had a question about the beans. Clara, I don't
Yeah.
know if you know this one from a food science perspective, but is there a way to deal with the side effects of being flatulence after you?
So it's the sugar, and then we're gonna add, go for like a good pinch or a couple pinches of salt. And then,
Okay.
and some pepper, same thing. Flatulence is caused by the sugars that eventually get into the large intestine.
And
come
pepper?
in. Yeah, so you can pour it into your hand and whatever your preference is on amount. There, it looks great. We're gonna stir that up for a couple of minutes.
Well,
1 to 2 minutes, and then we'll put the vinegar in, the barbecue sauce.
Okay. But doesn't Beano work for,
Yeah, it does. So it helps to reduce that sugar. Basically, anytime people have that intolerance or that flatulence, just like lactose intolerance, is all, yeah, it's all based around the fact that the sugars are getting into the large intestine and causing the bacterial blow up, basically.
you
And
ready for this?
so, yep, we can add the vinegar barbecue sauce. So we'll add all that vinegar. You can add your barbecue sauce. And, ooh, I need to get ketchup for us too. So yes, there's a few ways to combat that, but we're gonna guesstimate them are 2 tablespoons. So then we'll also get in the mustard. If I can open this up. Okay, you can squeeze that in there, Nick.
All right.
As far as if people make beans from scratch, like if they start out with the dried, soaking them overnight will help as well. Then you'll see all that foamingness happen, and that will also alleviate some of that extra.
So my wife, she obviously from Brazil, beans are a big part of the meal. She makes, she takes beans and puts them in a pressure cooker
Uh-huh.
and then cooks them for the whole week.
Oh, yes.
What is that? Is that helping?
It's
what you're
definitely
talking about?
allowing some of that sugar to break down, so it's not going into the gut as much. So yes, that does help. 2 tablespoons of ketchup. And then we've got to do our sugar. Okay.
No, there's no
And
lack
we'll
of
mix
sugar in
that
this meal, is there?
There's a little bit of sugar.
A little. Sugar makes the world sweet.
And the baked beans are also sweet beans.
Yes, they are. All right. And then after that get mixed in there really good, then you can start adding your beans. So I have 3 cans of beans, and you're going to add all 3 of them, the whole thing. And then we're going to put that into the oven. So that bakes at 400 for about 30 minutes. And then we'll do our meat. Perfect. So this. Look at that. Yum.
It's good.
Okay, so we're gonna bring that to a boil.
All right.
Once it brings to a boil, then we'll shut the power off, and then we're gonna put it in the oven. Would you like we need to get you a towel.
I got an apron.
Oh, that works. Chef's secret. Okay, so while we're waiting on that, we're gonna slice up 4 slices of bacon. So
All right.
basically like what we did before, you
Same
don't
way.
have to do the slices. You can just go straight across.
All right.
We're gonna do 4, I think 3, then 4.
Okay.
Okay,
And how big a piece do you want?
like 1/2 inch.
So growing up, I was told that the way you can tell a real man is he likes bacon and likes the Three Stooges.
Okay.
That's it. At least if you're from Chicago.
The-
That's how,
okay,
that's how
yeah.
they tell.
Right.
What kind of, food in Amazon?
Oh, fish is a big one because you're on the Amazon River. Tambaqui. Tambaqui is a popular one. Poraracu is another popular one. They tend to be this big. And where Manaus is, that's where the river coming, the Black River coming from the swamps of Venezuela meets the White River coming down from Peru. And right at Manaus, they join. And then for about 1 kilometer or 2, they don't mix. They just run side by side. And so you have a white side of a river and a black side of the river. If you take a tambaqui out of the white side of the river, it's lighter colored. If you take a tambaqui out of the dark side of the river, it's much dark colored fish. It's pretty cool. They've
Right.
got pink dolphins.
Pink.
They don't eat them though. Yeah, they don't eat 'em.
Pink dolphin.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then what else? Manatees. They're called peixe boy. Fish cattle. But that fruits are important. Juices, cacao juice, cupuaçu juice, graviola are all really good juices. Cassava is your carbohydrate.
And sorry, Nick, I'm putting in the beans into the oven. So we put a couple of slices of bacon across the top. So again, we're getting that opportunity to keep the bacon industry happy today.
Oh, yeah. Pardon? My wife is half Amazonian Indian, and her brother is an anthropologist that works in the Aldeias with a particular Indian tribe.
Okay, I'll let you, you know what? You can wash your hands at the regular sink.
Okay,
I'm gonna add your bacon into the mixture.
gotcha. So when brought my wife home for the first time to a family outing, I had a young nephew, and his questions were really interesting to her. His questions are, do you wear shoes? They think of the Amazon probably a little bit different than reality.
That's some of the questions I got when, like moving to Hawaii. People would ask me, are you gonna live in a hut? Very interesting.
All right.
Will you still have MTV? Back in my day,
Oh, MTV
it
was
was
big.
like, you know, the 80s, and it was like, oh my gosh, you're gonna have MTV. How will you survive without it?
So this is gonna saute up, and we're gonna cut up another onion and another pepper. So I
Okay,
can let you cut the pepper and I can do the onion this time.
All
And
right.
then we're also gonna do the celery.
so is there a trick to the pepper?
No, I just usually I take the top, try and cut the top off, and then I can pull out the seeds
Yes.
and still cut the top up to use into the mixture.
Oh, okay.
So what are some ways we can live to help protect the rainforest?
Well, okay, so if you look at the Amazonian rainforest, it's really cut up into different periods. You know, on the east is where all the damage is going on. In Amazonas, the state of Amazonas, where my wife is from, they're far more regulated. Everybody has rules. In the east, it doesn't seem like they follow the rules too much. And But if, for example, we own some land in the rainforest in her state, to cut a tree down, you need a chainsaw. A chainsaw needs a license for the chainsaw. Yeah, so, and everything that we were involved with, they required the license and they were out checking. Where if you were in the east side, I don't know how much they would check that or if that's even a regulation out there. But how to save the Amazon, how to save the rainforest?
I don't have all the answers.
No. So think of it this way. If you go out there, there's a lot of poor people, right? I mean, the reason that they're like Hawaii, they import 90% of their food from outside the Amazon. It's not that there's a lack of land. There is a lack of infrastructure, roads to bring the food to market. There's a lack of inputs in terms of fertilizer and that kind of thing. So when you're trying to save the Amazon, who you're saving it from and for is the people that live there have a different outlook than the people who are from the outside. It's not an easy kind of a thing. Do you go this way? Or how do you do it?
Yeah, you can do so if you cut it straight down or however it's easiest and then we're gonna make diced, so
Oh,
kind of
okay,
like our onion.
we're gonna dice it up.
Yep.
All right. So I could do something like this.
And we'll dice up that whole thing.
What's the main language spoken in Amazon?
Oh, Portuguese, Brazilian Portuguese. So now a lot of the Indians in the Hasha, they also, a lot will speak Portuguese. So my brother-in-law, I'm not exactly sure what he does, but he spends a lot of time working in the aldeias, in the villages.
How does the climate compare to
Well,
Hawaii?
it's 2 degrees south latitude is where my wife's city is. And we're at 22 degrees north latitude here. So it's really hot. There's 2 seasons. There's the dry season and the wet season. And in the dry season, particularly in the city, one of the problems is the amount of smoke that you get because there's a lot of fires going on. And if you get on a satellite imaging of the Amazon in the dry season, you can see a lot of different fires going on. So, while I've spent some time there and my family is from there, I wouldn't consider myself an expert on the problems there. But I have worked with an agronomist from INPA, and these guys know everything about how to grow. The problem is getting it to market, a lot of it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's if you talk to her, she's a city Indian. That's how she describes herself.
Do you know any words?
Yeah, I speak Portuguese.
Yeah.
I've taught in Portuguese at 3 universities in Brazil.
Oh, neat.
My sabbaticals were all in Portuguese. You learn by, in my case, I had a Brazilian lady working with me in the laboratory in Gainesville. So we changed to when I was starting to learn Portuguese before I went on sabbatical, we would try to work in limited Portuguese, right? It was okay. And then when I got to live the first time, you go out and try to buy something at a store and they laugh at you because of the way you speak. So then you go home and you decide, I ain't going out again. I'm not going to be laughed at anymore. And then a week goes by, 2 weeks go by, and you wind up getting hungry and you realize you got to go back out. You gotta
Go try again.
you gotta suck it up.
That's right.
And you got to learn figure out what you're doing. But it's a wonderful, beautiful country.
You want to finish? We can cut that up.
And when you go on there on sabbatical versus going to live, the difference is you get to places that the tourists never go.
That's great.
Right? So right now in the Amazon is a music festival called the Boi Boom Ba, which is country western northern Amazon music. Really festival, great costumes.
That sounds great.
And if my wife's listening, she can always type in and correct anything that I'm saying that she says knows is wrong.
What attracted you to art and what?
Oh, so Florida, subtropical. My whole career outside of my PhD was in tropical, subtropical,
You can add all this to here.
yeah. In Gainesville, but also I spent time in Brazil. And so, we grow cacao here. I spent some time with the Cacao Institute in the state of Bahia. My major appointment was with the University of Viçosa, in Viçosa, Minas Gerais, just on the outskirts of the Atlantic forest. And that was working with eucalyptus.
That one to add in there too?
Yeah. So I was attracted to Hawaii for a couple of reasons. One is the fact it was tropical, well, it was tropical, which sort of fit somewhat with my experience and things I was doing. Also, it was Hawaii. It's Hawaii.
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to?
Who doesn't want to live in Hawaii?
Who doesn't want to at least go to
Oh,
Hawaii,
let me
right?
give you a bigger wooden spoon. So we're gonna cook our meat on the side as well. So because
Okay.
my pot wasn't quite big enough.
I think I can use this spoon, can't I?
Is it big enough? I figure I'd give you a little more length.
I have long arms. So it works out well.
So we'll cook our meat while that's cooking as well. We've got 16 minutes or so on our angel food cake. Our beans, I think, are about, I think we're probably 20 minutes into those. And we'll saute up our ground beef.
So what kind of ground beef do you use? Beef is best.
Well, it's personal choice, but we have a 90-10 today. And that is kind of nice because then you don't quite have as much grease on
A
the other
90-10
side.
means,
90% lean, 10% fat.
oh, okay.
So the higher the bigger number is, the redder you would see your beef. An 80-20 would be a lot white, a lot more white in there. You get a little bit more marbling in the fats.
Okay.
So for most stores, you see 80-20, 75-25 has pretty much phased out. So everybody's kind of wanting that lean
Yeah.
version. And that's why grass-fed beef has become so popular, is because it's so much leaner.
Do you have a taste difference between grass-fed and,
There is a taste difference.
can you tell it?
Yes. I think it's a better flavor. I think there's, obviously it's a bit leaner. That takes into account, you got to cook it carefully because it will dry out real quick. But it definitely has some advantages. And I know that when we did back in the day, when we were doing our barbecues all over the islands, we did grass-fed beef.
We'll start that up again.
Fantastic.
Now that all the masking is gone and we're maybe
Great.
close to back to normal, we can start that up again.
That sounds super. So we're gonna keep cooking that. We're gonna get this beef cooked up, and then I'm gonna add into that beef, we're gonna add more ketchup.
What would be the logistics problem of having a barbecue like this for alumni that are in, say, California?
Oh. They could join us on Zoom.
Yeah.
We've gotten down Zoom
No, I mean,
really good.
in California.
Oh, do it.
Take it to California.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm with you.
There's a lot of alumni of CTAHR around LA, I believe.
Yes.
So
I'm up for travel to California.
what would be the logistics problem we would have?
Flying us.
That would be it, because we can get all the ingredients and find a location there. And
One of our attendees today is currently in LA, Sandra, tuning in from there.
fantastic. So I think we could do it.
Oh, and Sam says if you take her with us, you can cook it at grandma's house.
Oh, we forgot the celery in there, Nick. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay.
Let me chop that up really fast.
All right, Jean,
It's good. It's a really good question. We are just finishing up a strategic plan for the college. And the beauty of this plan, and so I can't say it's what I'm going to leave behind, but it's what the faculty are going to leave behind. The administrative fingerprints are not on this strategic positioning. What we did is we hired the consultant, and we're paying the bills, and we're doing the logistics. But the consultant is basically working with the faculty and in his process, so there's a process here. In his process, it's all input from the faculty. So what we come out with it will be something that will run how we budget into the future. We'll be budgeting not solely looking at the goals that the college has and the grand challenges that have been identified that it should be trying to meet, right? But it won't be exclusively that, but it'll certainly be a focus. So I think that's something I'm really excited about. Unfortunately, I'm not sure I can say I'm leaving, that's my legacy leaving behind, because if your legacy is paying for something, then yeah, that's fine. But I'm really proud of our administrative team and fiscal, HR, the associate deans. I would say it's more their legacy than mine, because what's happened, what makes this a fun place to be as a dean is that all these folks own their responsibility and own their jobs. So a problem comes up, they'll tell me about it and I'll say, hey, what do you need from me? And they say, I'll handle it. So when you have a group of people that take responsibilities that they have seriously, life can be a whole lot easier. Yeah. So I think what the team has done, we've rebudgeted. So we're in a much better budget situation for the future in a number of different ways. That's been with the help of Adrian Lee, Marcus Hayden. We've went through our extension civil rights review, which was you're reviewed every 5 years, except Hawaii hadn't been reviewed since 1980. So we had nothing for the review. And between Jeff and his group and the agents and Kelvin Sawaki, who preceded Jeff, who got all that started, we just finished recently the civil rights review, and we're ready for that. On research, by bringing in Walter Bowen, we went to a team science approach for using our capacity funds. So right now, every dollar we put out is leveraging $12 in outside grants. Compared today to when I first came, grantsmanship is up 126%. When I came, it was $14 million a year. Right now, it's in the $30 million. So that is some stuff that Walter brought, and it's the faculty really getting their act together, doing what they like doing. The team science approach is we will fund a team for the purpose of developing preliminary data with the promise that they'll take that to an outside grant. With preliminary data, you're far more competitive than if you're just starting with an idea. And that seems to have been somewhat helpful. He's also used a good bit of money for equipment and trying to modernize our equipment in the college, and put a significant amount of money towards that over a couple-year period. And then because of the pandemic, a lot of that money went to trying to keep graduate students in their programs, because they couldn't do a lot of things they couldn't do during the pandemic, and that put them behind. And grants only go for so long, right? And we weren't going to not pay them during the pandemic if they couldn't do that work. Right. So he has used that money to bridge a lot of these students. And what's made that work is faculty have found money to partially fund those students. So it's a really nice collaboration between faculty and administration to keep the students going. And then on academics, Anya has been outstanding. She is She's been on top of a lot of the issues that the college has had. She's in communication with the upper administration. They have a lot of respect for Anya's knowledge, and she's put on a bunch of committees at the university level because of what she knows and how she interacts with people. So it's really putting the team together. Maybe that might have been the only useful thing I've done since I've been here.
I would say there's more than just that. But it's been good. Definitely. All right. That was a big question. So what we'll do is we're gonna mix our, that looks great. You can turn our burner off.
Off.
Yep.
8 minutes to angel food, 7 minutes to angel
Yep.
food cake.
That is close. We're gonna add the ketchup and
Yep.
Worcestershire sauce to the meat. I'll let you
Okay.
do that. And then we'll eventually combine the two.
So compared to what my mom would make, this is busier. You know, a lot more things go into it.
Ingredient wise.
What was in hers? Just less vegetables?
Less vegetables.
Probably closer to just the sauce and the beef.
Yeah, and just maybe some mushrooms or some
Okay.
bacon.
Okay. Bacon.
Well, because it's healthy.
Yes, that's right.
You gotta make it
Don't
healthy.
forget that part.
That's right.
Everything's better.
So Jesse, I also want to know, hey, is there money in CTAHR's bank account to help with our cooking shows and food security initiatives?
What are food security initiatives? If it's extension, then talk to Jeff. That's how it works. Is while we have people that take ownership, I can't undermine their ownership, right? But how does our administration work? Is I think is a bit of a key. We meet for 3 hours, up to 3 hours every Monday, and we discuss everything. Every decision, major decision, is not my decision. It's a decision that we all discuss. Anya, who's on academics, will have opinions about extension. Walter will have opinions about academics. And it's a really good way of looking at all the possibilities from different angles. And I think that's been a real positive experience for me here.
Super. You wanna, that looks great. We're
Okay.
gonna add that to here
All right.
and mix that up. And that is our
Sloppy Joes.
One last question. We have an alumni on here. Sam still there? There's a question that Sam would like to know is, where's my,
Economics.
yes, economics. So.
Who is it?
Yeah, how's the progress going with the economics department in establishing an agriculture economics team?
So when I interviewed 5 years ago, my very first question was, where's the economics department? Because agriculture without economics is a pretty tough situation to be in. There is no economics department. That was organized out of it back around 2000 or so. The economists, the way I understand it, were then spread out to the other departments. Since the departments weren't economics departments, they maybe weren't a high priority in some of the hires. And so we don't have many economics. So what's going on? I mean, there's interest from College of Social Sciences to work with us in a collaborative fashion on a ag economics, agribusiness, maybe certificate or approach. That there's very slow discussions going on relative to that. I've been talking to the Department of Ag, and the economists in the Department of Ag, I just talked to them on Thursday. You know, there's possibilities there of bringing, having CTAHR, CSS, Department of Ag, and in a collaboration, each one adding something to a certificate program. I know we have some NGOs in the state that are interested in seeing what we can do and how we can do it. So I would say nothing's really changed per se from the last time I was asked that question. That's an annual question. But I think there are a slow but steady pathways to getting more economics in. A lot of it's going to depend on the strategic plan too. I don't know what's in it, but I'm hoping that there is an identity of economics. I believe one of the initiatives has to do with business. You're on that working group, aren't you?
Yes,
Oh, okay. You could speak to that. I'm not part of this, so I don't really know.
I believe there was. So we, as the strategic group, working group, we were targeting 4 key initiatives. And so I believe that was part of the economic, I don't know if it was specifically named in there, not knowing that from beforehand. But again, I think we were working towards 4 key initiatives. So
Yeah.
within that,
And the stuff they've told me is that one of the last one, number 4, is something to do with business development.
Yes.
Some, I'm not sure exactly, but that's really promising because our hiring process now will be justified based on how do we move that strategic positioning forward, right? Where are our gaps
right.
and where are we going to
How can we-
focus? When,
Right.
just because we've lost a lot of positions. 20% of the college is gone right now. Staff and faculty about an even break. We're going to start hiring back. The legislature might be, there's a possibility the legislature will bring the whole budget back to pre-pandemic times. We'll have to wait and see. But if they do, that'll be good for us. There's a problem. Let's say that we could hire everybody back. They said, here's all your positions, hire them back. You can't do it because every position has a startup package. And we wouldn't have the money or the ability. So we're going to have to, my feeling is it's going to be a 5-year plan for building back. And that's okay. But we have a plan.
Super. All right. So look at that. I think
All
that
right.
is ready to go.
You got 24 seconds on the cake.
I know. How about that?
Okay.
That is a beautifully done sloppy Joe. And we have some
All right.
finalized products that we can share.
So this 4 sloppy joes, that would be my birthday meal. All 4,
All 4.
minimum of 4, maximum of 6.
Okay. Super. So those are ready. And then our cake is, hang on, we'll pull the cake out. Look at that. What a great job.
Ooh, we did good.
Absolutely. So
Do I use this?
carefully, yeah, we are going to
Well,
actually,
you got those pads there.
the hot pads.
I got,
So the
at home, we
trick
got those
will
really
be-
nice gloves.
The trick is going to be, Nick, we're going to put it on this bottle.
Yep. It's got a cool on a bottle.
Yep. So I think probably the easiest way, do you want me to
There we
spear
go.
it?
Got it? Yep.
All right. That's gonna cool, and let's come around this side and we can see our final product.
All right.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Actually, it's coming up too.
Hey, we targeted
About
that.
3 weeks.
Nice. And
Ooh, who gets the bacon?
baked beans.
Do we
You
fight
can-
over
you
the
can have
bacon?
it all.
That's great.
So-
Well, thank you. This was fun.
This was great. Thank you
Yeah.
for coming to our lab. Thanks everybody for joining us. Have a great rest of your Saturday. And until next time.